So hello guys, today I am going to show you one of the most amazing and brain-melting games ever played in chess history. And no, this is not some random online blitz game at 3 am. This was the freaking World Chess Championship played between Garry Kasparov and Anatoly Karpov in round 24 held in Seville, Spain. So buckle up because this is gonna be amazing. I am your host Bison. So game starts with c4 English opening, e6 by Karpov. This is known as Agincourt defense. Knight to f3, knight to f6, g3, preparing for bishop to g2. Okay, so from here now black have multiple options to continue the game like bishop to e7 and then go for castle, or here black can also develops his knight, but in this position Karpov played the move d5, taking control over the center, and this setup is known as Neo-Catalan opening. Now Kasparov played b3, supporting the c4 pawn, bishop to e7, and here Karpov is preparing to castle, bishop to g2, and after this both sides simply castled, b6 by black, preparing for bishop to b7, or maybe black can play c5. Bishop to b2 by Kasparov, bishop to b7, and now Kasparov played e3. He wants to push d4, gaining space over the center. Knight at b goes to d7, knight to c3. Both sides develops their knight. Now Karpov brings his knight further on e4, asking for knight exchange, but Kasparov simply declines and bring back his knight on e2, rerouting it towards the better square. Okay, so in this position, here mostly game black continues the game with bishop to f6 with the idea of exchanging the bishop, or here black continues with the move d4, closing the diagonal and continue the game. But in this position, Karpov decides to expand towards the queen side by playing a5, d3, hitting this knight, bishop to f6, asking for bishop exchange, but Kasparov defends with his queen. Now some takes happen, knight to d6. Now again c takes d5, bishop takes d5. In this position, Kasparov played a good move d4, restricting the activity of this knight. That's why Karpov strikes with the move c5, and obviously you can't capture this c5 pawn, otherwise black will activate his knight. So that's why Kasparov brings his rook into the game, supporting the d4 pawn. That's why Karpov also brings his rook on c file. After this, white brings his knight further, hitting the bishop, and after takes happens, now Karpov brings his queen on e7, connecting the both rooks. Rook at a goes to c1, rook at f goes to d8, then again takes, knight takes, b4. Now this knight is under attack, a takes b4, queen takes b4, and after the dust settles, now this pawn is under attack. Karpov defends it with his queen, targeting this a2 pawn. That's why Garry pushed his a pawn further, and after this knight to f5, asking for rook exchange, but Garry firstly bring his rook on b1, targeting this b6 pawn. Rook takes d1 check, rook takes d1. Here you can also capture it back with your bishop. Okay, queen to c7, knight to d3, asking for knight exchange, but Karpov played h6, creating an escaping route for his king. Rook to c1. Now this knight is pinned, so that's why Karpov brings his another knight into the game. Maybe his next destination might be d5 square. Queen to b5 by Kasparov. Maybe he wants to push his a pawn further. Knight to f5. Here black is just shuffling his knight. a4, knight to d6, attacking the queen. Queen to b1, and you can't grab this pawn due to the spin. That's why Karpov slides his queen on a7. Now this pawn is under attack. Now in this position, computer is suggesting to exchange the knights and continue the game. But playing safe was never in Kasparov's blood. He chooses aggression, that's why he pushed his knight further on e5, aiming to get over the c6 square. But guys, everything was fine until this moment. Right here, Karpov made a huge blunder by capturing the a4 pawn with his knight. Here the better option is to capture it with his queen. Why I am saying this? Because after rook get exchanges, now pause the video and find the winning move for white. If you find the move queen to b5, then congratulations, you are a genius, because now white is threatening to play queen to e8 check and then grab this knight. But what if black simply moves his knight on d6? If knight to d6, now again pause the video and find the crushing move for white. The move is queen to c6 and black have to lose one of his knight, because here queen can only protect a single knight at a time. So that's why this position is completely winning for white. Here after this move knight takes c8, now comes the crazy part of this game. In this position, Kasparov didn't even realize that he was winning. That's why instead of playing the only winning move, which is queen to b5, here he missed that move and he played queen to d1. Here his idea was to give a check from on d8 square and then grab this knight, but he forget that black have a powerful move which is knight to c5. And to tackle this, suppose if Kasparov gives a check from his queen, then after king to h7, and you might be thinking that that's a free knight. But now comes queen to a1 check, and after king to g2, queen takes e5, black will gain back his piece with a passer on b file, and you can see that black is better. So, but after the move queen to d1, Karpov missed this move and he brings his knight on e7. Now Kasparov gives a check from his queen, king to h7, knight takes h7. And here white is doing great. But guys, instead of queen to d8 check, here white missed something crazy, which is bishop to h5, targeting this f7 pawn. And suppose if black tries to run, suppose if king to h7, then bishop takes h7, and you can see that in the next move white can bring his queen on d8 with the idea of queen to g8 checkmate. And if black tries to defend it by bringing his queen on 8th rank, which logically looks great, but now comes queen to d3 check, king to h8, queen to a3, targeting this knight. And if knight moves, suppose on f5, then bishop takes e6 check. And now look at this position. This knight is trapped, and in the next move white will give a check from his knight and white is completely winning. Okay, so after the move knight takes h7, f7, now comes knight to g6, stopping the move queen to h8 check, queen to e8, targeting this pawn, as well as in the next move white will bring his bishop on e4, creating immense pressure towards the black king. That's why Karpov brings his queen on e7, asking for queen exchange, but he grabbed the knight. And after this, bishop to e4, king to g8, queen to b5, attacking this pawn, knight to f8, then some takes happen, queen to f6, queen to b5. He wants to bring his queen on e8, that's why he brings back his queen on e7, king to g2, g6, queen to a5, queen to g7, queen to c5. Here both sides are just shuffling. Queen to c6, he wants to bring his queen on d6, that's why queen to e7, bishop to d3. Again both sides are just shuffling their pieces, and after the dust settles, you can see that white is slowly creating a strong command in this game. And now in this position, it's important for black to keep his queen on 8th rank. So that's why white can't infiltrate. but he blunders and bring his queen on a5, which targets this pawn. But guys, now this is over because now comes bishop to e8 check, bishop to a8 with the idea of queen to f7 check, queen to c5, queen to f7 check, king to h8, bishop to a4 with the idea of bishop to b3, targeting this e6 pawn. So that's why the black gives a check, king to h2, queen to c5, bishop to b3, targeting this pawn. That's why Karpov brings back his queen on c8, bishop to d1, queen to c5, and the final move by Kasparov is king to g2, and in this position Anatoly Karpov resigned. What an amazing game by both legend players. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video. Hit that subscribe button for more because it motivates me a lot. This is your host Bison signing off. Bye bye.